Alright guys, what is up? Welcome back to Game 2 between Jaedong and Flash. Now, as I said before, this isn't exactly Game 2 between these two guys. All I know is that these two guys played many games before, and I went ahead and pulled the two most popular replays that I could find as of recently. So, I think this is from another tournament. I may or may not be wrong, but here it is, guys. It is time for Jaedong versus Flash, round 2, and Jaedong, of course, is the Zerg player down in the bottom left. He is orange Zerg. Flash will be the green Terran or teal Terran at the top right, and it looks like on-game net is in this game, so I believe this would be on the OSL, which is the on-game net is the broadcasting station, I believe, for OSL. I might have that backwards, but yeah, so this is obviously going to be straight up from Korea. And we'll see how this plays out. Flash, of course, the Terran at the top right. The map is Match Point, which, funnily enough, is a map that I am aware of. I actually played on this map a few years ago, so this is an older map that I guess is still being used today, and I'm going to show you guys the map a little bit. Here's the choke point leading into the natural. There's the natural expansion. There is the ramp here leading into the middle of the map, but what makes this map really interesting is the high ground continues onward over here to a potential third, and then also into the middle of the map as well. So likewise, Flash also on the top right hand side having a mirror version of the map, and it really makes for a very interesting dynamic because you've got that high ground access. You can kind of launch an attack around the back into the third into the natural, or you can just play the map straight up as a simple standard, you know, high ground, low ground terrain into the middle of the map. And we'll just have to see how things are going to play out here. Jaedong getting a spawning pool on 10 supply here. This is a very fast spawning pool for Jaedong, and I'm actually a little peculiarized here, if that's a word. I'm a little curious here as to why Jaedong is getting such an early spawning pool. Usually Zerg players will get that hatch down right away, so it looks like Jaedong wants to be aggressive here against Flash, who has not walled off. He's building the barracks up on the top of his base here. Interesting plays here from both these guys so far, and like I said before, I'm just not up to date as I once was with professional Brood War. So a lot of the things that I notice here and I say, they are going to be a little bit outdated, so I do apologize, guys, and a lot of build orders and strategies I might just not be aware of anymore. For Brood War, because things have changed so much in the last couple of years. The one thing that hasn't changed, though, is the players that have been remaining dominant, and that is Jaedong and Flash. So at least I can take a little bit of peace to my grave with that knowledge. So here we are. It looks like Flash is going to go ahead and get that factory down momentarily here, and there it is, as he's pulled all of his SCVs off gas. And back in the old days, you would see Terran players do that. After the quick fact, they might pull all their SCVs off so that they can just commit to a ton of vultures, which you guys have to know and remember are kind of like the Hellions of today's day and age. Not nearly as devastating in the mineral line because they don't have that much splash damage, but they still have that spider mine. And a lot of people would argue the vulture is a more superior unit to the Hellion, its new replacement. But we'll have to see how this game's going to go. It certainly looks like Flash and Jaedong are changing up their playstyles here. There's the factory, where Flash is kind of going for a much faster mech opening, and quite possibly could go with a mech style versus Zerg, which is a little bit less than orthodox based off what I remember from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, you wouldn't see that many Terran players going for mass mech play. They usually stuck with their SK Terran style, their Soul Key Terran style. And you wouldn't really see Zerg players opening up with such a fast spawning pool on 10 supply here. But, you know, I guess Jaedong does have his Zerglings inside the main right now. Let's see if he can get any damage. He tries to go for one of the SCVs, but brilliant control from Flash. Also, very smart right there, building another supply depot, as he knows that that SCV will tuck to the bottom right a lot of times and will be safe. So really good control right here coming from our Bonjour Terran. And he now has his Vulture out, which did pick off those two Zerglings with 2 kills in the command center. Now on the way on this map, Match Point, and looks like Flash is going to definitely set up to have a 2-base game here. But, you know, guys, it's certainly going to be interesting if we have a mech style opening from Flash, which it looks like it is, and Jaedong going for, as a Zerg player, to deal with this kind of mech, you've got to have a different mindset. You can't go for the Ling, not Infestor, Ling Defiler, Ling Ultra style. You kind of have to switch it up, and you're going to get Hydras against this mech style. That's going to be really interesting to see. And you guys might be thinking, well, wait, Hydras are terrible against Terran. In most cases they are, but if the Terran, if Flash here is, yeah, he is going to go for Mass Mech. He's getting the Armory and the second factory, so if he's going to go for Vultures and Goliaths, surprisingly, Hydras are actually really good against that. So we are going to have a very interesting playstyle here, but at the very least, Jaedong is going to open up with a Spire here, and this is pretty quick Mutalisks. Also like how Jaedong threw up that Sunken Colony, that's what they're called. Sunken Colony at the front door. So that really prevents that Vulture from running inside to his natural. And right now Flash is researching the Charon booster upgrade on that machine shop. There's a Charon booster. The Zergling runs in and will get a full scout, but that Charon booster upgrade is for Goliaths. And now Jaedong, if he was not sure before, he's definitely sure now. He's going to be facing off against a mass mech composition from Flash. And it just goes to show that these two guys, they can play multiple styles. They don't have to play the old school SK Terran style versus the Defiler style. You could see a lot of different playstyles, and to be the best of the best of the best, you have to be able to switch it up. So good timings here from Flash as well, getting up the missile turrets just in the nick of time. Right in time to deal with any mutas that are now actually flying across the map. And Goliaths, you guys might think they're pretty good against Mutalisks, but they do have damage against mutas, as do missile turrets. So Mutalisks in the mid game are really good against Terrans, and we're about to see how good they're gonna be here. Jaedong flying in, but there's already 2 turrets down south, and you know, you really don't want to lose any of these early game Mutalisks, but it's important to try to get in there and do as much damage as possible. So Jaedong, you're taking a couple of whiffs at that floating engineering bay. Unfortunately, that's really not going to help him out at all. Let's see if he can get in next to those SCVs. I don't think he's going to try to risk it, though. There's just so many Charon upgraded Goliaths right now that those Mutalisks are going to have a very hard time getting in there, but it looks like Jaedong going to risk it anyways. He's taking a lot of missile shots right now to that clump, but look at the Muta that took some of that damage. It barely survived, and here's really the beauty of Muta Micro in Brood War. Like I said before, you can clump all those Mutas up into one sprite, and when you fly in, you aren't nearly as worried about a single Mutalisk getting picked off, because the controller controlling the Goliaths has a very hard time picking out the weakened Muta, and even the AI doesn't pick out the weakened Muta. And hey, it helps if you get +1 armor for Mutalisks too. As you can see, that Spire is now researching +1 armor, so now the Goliaths are going to do, well, they do 2 shots, so they do 2 less damage, and I believe the missile turret does 1 shot. No, it actually looks like it does 2 shots. So that +1 armor is going to help quite a bit, and those Mutalisks flying in there, 1 did die, so Jaedong's got to still be careful. We do have Hydralisk speed being researched right now, and how in the heck did Hydras go from StarCraft 1 to StarCraft 2 and lose one of their most powerful evolutions ever? I have no idea. The muscular augments, so important for Hydras. Maybe one day it'll make a comeback. I think it's coming back in Heart of the Swarm. I'm pretty sure it is actually, but you need Hive to get it, but I digress. Hydralisk speed is on the way, and as I was saying before, you need Hydralisks if you're going to combat this Goliath mech army, at least in the early game until those tanks come out. Now, it looks like Flash does have speed upgraded for those Vultures, so they're so fast. They're going to fly in here. Let's see how much damage he can do. Picks off a couple of drones, but then the Mutalisks coming back, and they are the Guardians in the sky. They will totally shut down that Vulture harass, and he corners the Vultures into the wall as well. That's a little surprising considering Vultures are really fast with speed, and usually most Terran players are going to be able to escape the Mutalisks simply due to their raw speed. It looks like right now Flash is trying to run this one in, probably just for a scout. He may pick off a drone or 2. Doesn't look like he has spider mines quite yet, although I'm sure he's researching it back at home. Spider mines are so good against everything. They're so cheap and they're so worth it. And yeah, there we go. Spider mine just finished researching that Vulture, got the ability to lay down a mine as it was running away. So now what Flash's playstyle is going to be, since he's dealing with Hydralisk, since he's getting all this mech, since he's got Spider Mines upgraded, is to start laying mines all around the map, and oh, that worked out pretty well for Flash, and that's exactly what Flash is going to try to do, start to lay down Spider Mines all around the map and begin to control it and take over the terrain. Likewise, Jaedong has Overlords in his possession, and you guys have to remember, hold that thought, looks like Hydralisk going down right there, and the Vulture actually manages to dodge the Mutalisks. Wow, that was nice control right there by Flash. But anyways, you guys have to remember, back then, Overlords had detection. before their eyes were neutered in StarCraft 2, so you didn't need to morph them into Overseers. There was no such unit as an Overseer in the old days, and so Jaedong here is going to have ample amounts of detection, but he's probably going to want to research Overlord speed to help him begin to clear out these minefields that are beginning to be laid down all around the place. Looks like a 4th hatchery going up here, but Flash sees that. See if he does anything about it. Looks like he was moving out with these Goliaths, but then ran into these Hydralisks, and I don't think he's going to want to engage those Hydras because they are pretty cost effective. Oh, that was really lucky for Jaedong. He ended up killing that mine as it was burrowing out to detonate on the Hydralisks, and now some Vultures have run inside the natural, but totally shut down by the defenses already placed in position there. So Jaedong and Flash really trading blow for blow here. I don't see any huge mistakes thus far. I think both players are just building up off of 2-3 bases, approaching 4th base actually for Jaedong. So it would definitely be a good idea for Flash to get a 3rd pretty soon here. But one key element that you guys might notice here is Flash will actually take the liberty to lay spider mines not only around the map, but also in his bases as well. And the reason for this is because it can shut down drop play very, very easily. If you think about it, if there's a bunch of Overlords about to drop Hydras in your base and you've got a minefield already laid down in your main, yeah, you're perfectly set. Those Hydras do not want to land in a minefield. So you might see, you might end up seeing Flash lay a couple of mines around his bases. We'll see. Right now I don't see any, so it looks like he is researching Irradiate though on that science facility. So we are going to have a little switch over to science vessels pretty soon here, and of course vessels all around, just a good unit to have. You guys already saw the power of the Irradiate earlier on, and there is Overlord drop, I believe, being researched right now on the lair. So we are going to have Overlord drop. Looks like these Hydras clearing out the minefield towards the north. And obviously it's important for Jaedong to feel comfortable wherever he moves around. He doesn't want to be surprised by a bunch of mines that are just hidden away. So he is taking the liberty right now to clear out the minefields, take control of the map, and settle it down and see what he can do. It looks like he's got a decent clump of Mutalisks as well, and that tank count is starting to ramp up for his enemy Terran Flash, who's just doing a great job of making the switch over to tanks and science vessels, and all of this off of 3 bases, excuse me, so 1, 2, 3 bases. There's a base tucked in between the top one and the southern one. So Flash here is about to have a good late game composition. I hope Jaedong eventually gets into Defiler mode too, because regardless of the matchup, Defilers are still very, very important. And these Vultures trying to run in here, but they end up running into a brick wall of Hydras. And now getting herded up to the Mutalisks. Nice trap right here by Jaedong. Picks off four or so Vultures for free. Not too shabby for Jaedong. He'll take that small victory right there, and you can see on the mini-map now, Jaedong, with a lot of troop movement, seems like he wants to take control over the outside of the Terran 3rd now, and this is a pretty bold move for him. He's got to get an Overlord there, and it looks like he will have an Overlord in position, not even 1, just 2 actually, which is better than 1, 3 actually, so now he's going to really be able to clear out this minefield, which originally posed a risk to these Hydralisks, but now that the Overlords are overhead and scout the mines underneath, that is no longer going to be something that Jaedong has to worry about. And he's even flying around with the Mutas to pick off additional mines down to the right as well. You know, it doesn't look like Jaedong is going to actually attack this location. I think more along the lines of Jaedong just looking to contain the Terran right now, and I would imagine at some point here Jaedong is going to switch into getting some Lurkers out, because he's already got Hydralisks, and you have to remember that Lurkers are the natural evolution of the Hydra once you research it at the den. And obviously the Lurkers are going to be a great way here for Jaedong to counter siege his opponent, who obviously has now building up a pretty large siege tank force. And let's see here, we got some Vultures moving out on the top for Flash, who looks like he wants to lay down a minefield, but there are some Mutalisks there, so Flash now moving some of the Vultures down to the south here, maybe as a distraction, so he can get these Vultures up to the top left, but unfortunately for him, there's a whole hit squad of Hydras waiting for that, and that was totally intercepted. So well done so far by Jaedong to intercept the Vulture forces, keeping his drones alive, but look at this move out by Flash. He's got so many tanks. He's been building these up for the last couple of minutes or so, and this could be bad for Jaedong. The tanks are now beginning to siege up, and the science vessels using defense matrix in the glass in front, but 2 Force Scourge coming in. They're killing off both vessels. Beautiful control by Jaedong, and he pulls away after the siege tanks had set up, so he really didn't lose that many Hydras, and in return he did kill off 2 vessels. I think both armies trading somewhat barely there, but Flash's whole playstyle here, because he's going for the mech, is not to just make a huge push and win. He's gonna set up his entire tank line, expand down to the bottom right, and play for the macro game here. You know, and as is Jaedong. Jaedong's going up to Hive mode now, and he's already got Consume on the way for the Defilers, so we're about to see some more cannibal action here from these Defilers. They're gonna be going to town, eating their brothers to get some energy, get those Dark Storms and Plagues out, and look at the missile turret wall from China here. Those Mutalisks are never getting into the capital city Beijing. There's no way they can get in through that wall of turrets. So well done right there by Flash to just expend his extra money, which he's got plenty of. Look, over 2,000 minerals. Jaedong not nearly having the same luxury in terms of excess resources. So I have to say, Flash is looking quite solid right now, and Jaedong's mass Hydra army, I gotta reiterate, I hope he starts to make some lurkers soon, or at the very least, waits for Dark Swarm to come out before he launches another attack. This could be ill-advised. There's Spider Mines waiting for him as well, and it looks like Jaedong just doesn't care. He's going in with the 2 armor mutas first. There is an Irradiate. Jaedong pulls the Irradiated Mutalisk away. Those 2 armor Mutalisks taking quite a bit of damage, and here comes the Hydras now, but there's a minefield. They have to break through. The mines coming up, but they all get killed off due to the sheer massive Hydralisk that Jaedong has out on the field right now, and unbelievably, Jaedong is going to break through the mech army in the middle with pure Hydralisks. Jaedong with +2 weapons on those Hydras. He kills off all the tanks. Unbelievable, but I think the reinforcements coming out from Flash here may be just too much for Jaedong to handle. And yeah, there's just too many reinforcements. More Scourge coming in here, trying to get that last Science Vessel. Not going to happen. Jaedong gets cleaned up in the middle of the map. Flash holds on with the reinforcements pouring in, not only from the 3rd, but also from his newly established 4th. And Jaedong immediately says, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna let you have that, but I'm gonna steal your base. He just stole the 1 o'clock base, 12:30, 1 o'clock-ish base from Flash, and we'll see how long this goes undetected for, as Jaedong really knows that he's got to remax his army now and rebolster it with this new economy that he's got going. But now, you know, after Flash killed off the entire army of the Zerg, he is now getting the go-ahead to siege up the outside of that expansion down there in the bottom, and it looks like he's beginning to shell it. Will Jaedong have an answer? He's coming in with Overlords here, but I don't think the Overlords are loaded up with anything. It's just purely Hydras at this point. Tons of tanks here, but I think just a pure number of Hydralisks are going to be able to break through this despite the defensive matrix on that final tank, and the Hydras clean up that tank army in the middle of the field once again. Great job by Jaedong cleaning up and establishing the terrain right outside of that expansion, which of course is so important because now he doesn't have to worry about siege tanks shelling his hatchery outside of the mineral field. So what great work right there. But now it's important for Mr. Never Die Jaedong not to overcommit here, because there's quite a few spider mines being laid down on the terrain, and one spider mine catching the reinforcing Hydra, and Jaedong could be eating more off than he can chew here, and oh no, just losing about 5 Hydras right there to a single spider mine. And with 2 more siege tanks shelling up and sieging up right there, I don't see Jaedong continuing this assault. So I think right there Jaedong did bite off more than he could chew, and I'm not quite sure why he didn't wait for Dark Swarm. We can see now he's finally got the Defiler out. So I don't know why he didn't wait for Dark Storm right there, because Dark Storm could have been all the difference that he needed to help penetrate that area. And at the very least now he does have Defilers out, and he does have Dark Storm ready to go. It wouldn't surprise me to see him research potentially Plague too. Plague can work against, well, it works against Goliaths, that's for damn sure. It can work against siege tanks as well. So we'll see which way Jaedong goes now, but look at the macro coming out of Flash, man. He's just, wow. That missile turret wall, so good. So much protection that Flash has from any potential drops, from any potential Mutalisk harass, and now Flash beginning to do that slow, dreaded push into the middle of the map for a second time today, and we'll have to see how this is going to work when it collides against the wall known as the Dark Swarm. And wow, look at these vultures coming into 3 spine crawlers, but despite that, killing off about 4 drones or so, so at the very least making themselves worthwhile. Not too sure if it was cost effective or not, but hey, at this point every single drone kill is gonna hurt Jaedong. So Flash, I'm sure, is happy with that. And look at those Defilers beginning to accumulate that energy from Consume. And we are going to have those Defilers at full energy, so they will be able to launch out quite a few Plagues, quite a few swarms, I would imagine. Hopefully Plague is actually research, because Plague is a research we need to get. I don't know why those drones are up inside that Overlord. They need to be down and mining right now. Maybe Jaedong just trying to protect those drones from death. And here comes some more vultures at the top left. Spine Crawler placed there, and the Hydras pop out just at the opportune time to defend against those vultures. So once again, Jaedong doing a decent job of defending there. All of his Hydras marching over to the top left here. And we do have a minefield actually separating the 12 o'clock base from the rest of Jaedong's forces. So he's going to look to clear up this minefield, and those drones do hover in the air. Workers hover in this game, so they won't be at the risk of dying to a spider mine. So Jaedong doesn't have to worry about that. But look at the tank count. That's what he's got to worry about this game. That tank count has reached 10 plus now, easily. And he's going to have such a hard time breaking these tanks. Thankfully, though, the Defilers are here. So hopefully he gets some good swarms off. He's able to penetrate that tank line. But like I said before in a previous cast, I think, or maybe it was this game, the tanks still do splash damage under the Dark Swarm, and Hydras take quite a bit of splash damage from siege tanks. So this could go very badly for Jaedong. He's trying to make his move right now, clears up a couple of mines, but the tanks are there, so he falls back. And really, at this moment in time, the Zerg player is just trying to figure out what's the best angle to attack. Obviously, he's going to want to hit from multiple sides, but he's got to figure out when the best time is to go in. And Flash, likewise, is setting up just a massive minefield in the middle of the map. This is going to be so hard for Jaedong to break. Jaedong moving in, though. It looks like it's time for Jaedong to go. And Jaedong moves in. There is a defensive matrix going off in the tank in the back. But look at the damage being done by that tank line. 10 or so Hydras just eating the dust there. Nothing that Jaedong can do about that. And likewise, Jaedong has to pull away. He just cannot attack this location until he figures out a way to circumvent the spider mines, the siege tanks. It looks like he finally lays down some more Dark Swarm. Gonna burrow up those lurkers. And the thing about lurkers is when they're underground and under Dark Swarm, they are pretty much invulnerable to pretty much everything. So Jaedong here well protected with his lurkers under the swarm, and the siege tank splash damage even unable to break through burrowed lurkers under the swarm. So there it is for Jaedong. Finally has some semblance of a terrain he can hold on to, but the swarm is about to wear out. He just launched another third swarm to protect those lurkers, but those siege tanks will continue firing. And look at this, Jaedong finally using the drop he's got, and this is exactly what he's needed to do to break this tank line. He drops a couple of defilers down as well, gets the swarm off, and now this entire tank line is under attack. This is going to be breached. Jaedong can swarm in with everything he's got and break these tanks down, and there comes the lurkers, and the swarm continuing to protect and pave the way for Zerg victory here. There's a spider mine. Oh my god, the mine devastating the lurker count, and now there's only one lurker left, so Jaedong not going to be able to kill off all these tanks if Flash pulls out. Oh, he's going to kill off that lurker as well. Good job, Flash. And now look at this, the mass migration of vultures. That's about 15 or so vultures going to the top left, and this could be an absolute raid of the drone line. But look at Jaedong burrows his drones underground. The comsat comes out for Flash, so Flash is going to tear through these drones. Although losing all these vultures, I'm not quite sure if it's worth it to lose 10 or so vultures for about 10 drones, but at the very least he is going to raid the economy and halt that Zerg income for a little bit. But Jaedong is still on a lot of bases, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases total, and now looks like he's making his move once again. This has been the focal point this game. The Dark Swarm really helping the Zerg once again, and it looks like Jaedong going to be able to get underneath the orange cloud, devastating the tanks, and he's going to force all these tanks to unsiege it and back the hell off. That's exactly what Dark Swarm does. It's like a back the hell off sign that you erect over the tank line. And so Flash just has to back off. He cannot deal with the consistent swarms coming out of Jaedong, and really, you got to give credit to Jaedong's great placement of the Dark Swarm. He has been placing it absolutely perfectly every single time he launches his attacks, and because of that, he's been able to get his units underneath it. And like I said before, when you're under the Dark Swarm, you are invulnerable to every missile attack, which essentially the entire Terran army is composed of missile attacks. Now here we go, some lurkers burrowing underground, a Dark Swarm protecting the lurkers once again. There is quite a few science vessels, but here comes a Scourge, beautiful clone from Jaedong, and he looks like he's gonna pick off every single science vessel. That was absolutely brilliant from Jaedong, and now the Hydra's getting underneath the swarm. They still take splash damage. There is a defensive matrix on the southern tank, and it looks like Jaedong unable to break the tank line. Flash just has too many tanks. He's got way too many tanks. He's got like 20 plus tanks right now, and he's gonna continue to siege up and shell away despite the Dark Swarms up in his face. But I do want to just go back in a few moments in this game and really articulate to you guys and describe how beautiful the Scourge were killing off those science vessels, because unlike StarCraft 2, you don't just A-move the Scourge. He had to individually tell to Scourge to hit every single science vessel, because if he didn't, then all the Scourge would have detonated on one vessel. They're just kind of dumb like that. I mean, if you think about it, they're like a little flying thing. They don't have a brain. So you got to tell every 2 Scourge to hit a vessel, and Jaedong just executed that beautifully. Now, can he break this tank line? Coming in with 6 or so Overlords, dropping in his cargo, dropping the load all over Flash's face, but Flash still has too many units here. There is some Darkstorms up at the top, and the Lurker Spines, wow, killing off quite a few tanks right there. But speaking of killing off quite a few things, the drones have been ravaged by the tanks outside that 3rd base, and more drones gonna go down here. So Flash is doing a beautiful job, even though he lost quite a few tanks. He still has that pseudo-contain over that 3rd base, and he's not going to allow any mining to go on there at all. Meanwhile, it looks like Flash going to move up to the top here, and once again, his signature 1-2 punch attacking multiple locations at once. I'm not sure if Jaedong is well prepared enough to deal with the attack at the top. He has some Hydras there. He picks off one tank. Can he get the other tank? It doesn't look like it, and now there's a minefield being laid down in the middle of the map to intercept any possible reinforcements. Flash is a military genius, and now a plane goes down over the mines and some of the vultures. So Jaedong just trying to make the best situation possible out of that terrible scenario. And now there's vultures once again up inside his drone line, but there are enough crawlers there to protect those drones from going down. And here comes some more Mutas and Scourge. There's no science vessels here to exactly pick off, but at the very least, Jaedong going to be able to, looks like, clean up that army outside of the 1 o'clock, the 12 o'clock base. So well done right there from Jaedong, it looks like, but the minefield is still there. So reinforcements are going to have a very hard time breaking through this location. Oh man, this is just as back and forth as the last game was between these two guys. The Bonjour and the Tyrant Killer himself going at it. This is just bringing tears to my eyes right now. One of the best matchups ever in StarCraft Brood War, and I'm just so happy to be able to bring this to you guys. The game is still not over yet. I don't even know who's gonna win. I think Flash has controlled the game right now. He has sent up the vultures over to the top left. Beautiful play right here. Picks off those drones, and he will get the burrow tree drones hiding as cowards as well. So no one escapes Flash's wrath. And actually, yeah, I guess a couple of drones did escape Flash's wrath. I don't know how that happened. But there are overlords now, so the minefield can be cleared off. But another minefield being laid out, and Flash is now going to set up shop outside the 12 o'clock. And this is really Jaedong's only true mining base. Jaedong has got to keep this alive, and that is not a good position, but he mine drags a mine and blows up quite a few Terran units right there, despite his units being stuck up inside that little choke. So not bad work right there from Jaedong, but he's got to get things together right now as Flash is just doing work on him. The entire base at the bottom, the 3rd base, has been devastated. There is no more base there. And in fact, if you look on the minimap, Flash is claiming that base for his own right now as he's putting command center there. So he's like, if you steal my base at the 1, then I'll steal your base at the 6. No problem. So well done by Flash. He's moving in with more tanks, more vultures. That army is getting terribly large. Absolutely devastating, and I really don't know what Jaedong can do at this point. He may be on the back foot. He loads up everything. He's going to try to save it, or I think he's going to try to drop it over the siege tank army, but unfortunately no mines to drag here. If there were some spider mines, if Flash was being careless and sieging up his army on top of spider mines, that might have worked out, but Jaedong unfortunately unable to get the luck of the draw there, and Flash takes the W against Jaedong. What a brilliant StarCraft 2 game. I hope you guys enjoyed these broadcasts as much as I have. This is HD bringing you guys some New Year's commentary. January 1st currently, but I think by the time these videos come up, it will be January 2nd. Nevertheless, I hope you guys enjoyed these Brood War casts, a blast from the past, and I will be going back to casting StarCraft 2, but I will cast Brood War from time to time as well. And by the way, guys, there will not be a Game 3 between Jaedong and Flash, because like I said before, these two games were not, I don't think they were from the same tournament, and I couldn't find a Game 3, so they are, I believe, from separate tournaments, and they're just exhibition games between these two great players. So hope you guys enjoyed. Happy New Year's 2012. If you guys get a chance, please do subscribe or follow me on my social media at Facebook and Twitter. I'm at HD Starcraft, and I'll see you guys around the corner. This is HD, signing out.